Hello, welcome to another tutorial for using Windows subsystem for Linux. In the last video, I show you how to set up a Windows subsystem for Linux for geospatial analysis. So essentially, we install Ubuntu on the Windows subsystem for Linux. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to install Arch Linux on WSL. One of the reasons that we want to use Arch Linux is that it's basically just one of the Linux distributions. And so personally, I like Arch Linux based operating system. For example, Manjaro. So if you want, you can Google it. This is my favorite Linux distributions. And so the computer that I'm using right now, actually, this is Manjaro, so the Linux system. And the advantage about Arch Linux is it has a huge software database. It's called AUR. ARCH. So you can Google it. It's kind of just like a Google App Store, and you can install a lot of packages without having to download anything. So it has a so-called package manager. So for example, something like this, and then you just search. For example, I can just search for the mini Conda and Conda. Yeah, right? You can search, you can install just one click, and then you can install packages without having to go online to download anything. So unlike Windows or even Ubuntu, right, it's not as complete. So this one is pretty much you can see here 83,000 packages. So it's a huge database, and you can so for me, I can set up, for example, some of the shell scripts to install things all at once. Think about when you set up a Windows operating system. Initially, you need to install a lot of packages. You need to go online. You need to download one by one. It's not that convenient. But for me, once I install the system, I just run a couple script and then it's done. So you don't really need to go to install packages manually. I also put the link in the description if you're interested. So this is for when you install a full Manjaro operating system. But in this video, I'm going to show you how to install Arch Linux. So Manjaro is based on Arch Linux, and Arch Linux is very powerful. And again, I'm going to show you how you can actually set it up and install packages very efficiently. So it's free, and it's open source. So you're welcome to look into the source code if you want. And all right, so let's get started. And so let me switch to our Windows operating system. I'm using a remote desktop. So here, this is the instructions. It might look overwhelming, but it's actually pretty simple and straightforward. I'm going to show you step by step how you set it up. And once it's set up, you can install any packages just within a couple of just command line, and then without having to go online, search everywhere, because the AUR software repository is pretty much anything you want. All right. So first step, let's go to download the package. So you need to go online. Arch WSL, and so go to this is the home page, and then go to here resources releases, and from there just download the latest one. So you can just download this one, arch.zip, right? It can be this is for Windows, definitely for Windows operating system. So once you download, for example, I'm going to save to my computer, and make sure that you put the files. So in this case, I created a directory called WSL, and then within there, I just put this one. So for me, I can simply, maybe I can create another repos directory, because you might install other operating Linux distro. So I can just ask X, right? So for example, and then I can move this one back in here. After that, just simply unzip the file. So you want to unzip this one, I just unzip to my current directory. Okay, so make sure that you have unzip this to a directory where you have enough storage. So essentially, once we install the operating system, it's going to create a virtual hard drive. So make sure that you have enough space, at least a couple gigabytes, so that you can store everything within the operating system. So once you download this one and unzip, then just simply double click this one. So this .exe, double click and pay attention. It doesn't allow you, but you can just simply more info run anyway. and it's going to take a couple seconds. So here you will see it's installing and it's creating a new hard disk ext4. So this is the hard drive format for Linux operating system. It can also be read by Windows. So take a look. It says please enter to continue. So once you press enter, it's going to just close it, and you can actually go back and double click again. So this is when it is installing everything. So take a look. It should not take a long time because it's not downloading anything. It's just setting up the operating system. And once you have, then we can get into the system. So take a look at this one here. The file size is increasing. So right now it's 735 megabyte, and that's it. All right, and then we are done. Take a look. Now we have the Linux operating system. So you might also be able to, for example, if you come here, right on the left side, your file explorer here, if you click Linux right now, you might need to refresh. Let me close this one and open again. You should see Arch Linux, right? So this is where everything here, the operating system, all the files are stored under this directory. Just like the previous one, we set up the Ubuntu, right? It's slightly different, but this is where the files are located. But as I mentioned, it actually comes from wherever is actually basically the files within here. So what you are seeing here under this directory here, it comes from this virtual hard drive. So make sure that you understand. And then from here, we can do pretty much anything you can do with the Arch Linux. So next, I'm going to show you, for example, how to update the operating system and then how to add a new user, because right now by default, it's a root user. So in Linux, you don't want to use this one. You want to create your own username. So first, let's update the operating system. So it's different from Ubuntu. You use a sudo apt get update. On Arch Linux, you actually use the pacman. So the pacman is the software, the manager that you can use to install anything. So I'm going to do sudo pacman, and then dash yyuu, and then just press enter. Depends on your internet speed, it's going to refresh your packages. For example, here it's going to download 129 megabyte and it's installed. So also pay attention to the file here. It's going to increasing once you install packages into the operating system, because everything is within the hard drive. So just it might take a couple minutes, because the first time once you install, it might be the operating system might be outdated. But one advantage about Linux or Arch Linux is that it's a rolling release. So basically, you always get the latest one, and you can also choose when do you want to update the operating system. Unlike Windows, sometimes you are forced to update to reboot your computer. Linux is not, and usually you can choose whenever you want to update, when to reboot your operating system. So you get a lot more freedom. All right, so let's take a look. It's done, and so now we have the latest operating system. Let's try to install a package called gedit. So basically, just like Notepad on Windows, you can use that to open TXT file so that you can have some graphical user interface. So I'm gonna press Y, and this one here is 91 megabyte, and then once it's downloaded, it's going to 451. So again, just pay attention to the file size. Right now, it's almost close to 1 gigabyte. So as I said earlier, make sure that you have enough storage on your computer. Eventually, it's maybe just a couple gigabyte. It's not that much like Windows. You need to have the 10 or 20 megabytes, pretty huge. Okay, and take a look. It's done. And if you want, you can open and take a look. So just type gedit. You should be able to open the text editor. So pay attention. Right now, this one is within the operating system. It's not on Windows. And take a look. You can open any file if you want. And so we're going to use later. For now, it's some error, but you can just ignore it. It doesn't really affect anything. So I can just clear everything. Okay. And the next step, what we want to do is to create a new user. As I mentioned earlier, right now is the root user. We don't want that. So what we want to do is to add a new user. So user add and then create. So this one here, I'm just going to use my name, but you're welcome to username. So you can use whatever name that you like, and then I'm just going to paste enter, and so you create a new user. And the next step is to set a password. So on Linux, for every user you need to set a password. So let me here copy paste, right, new password. So just type whatever password you want. It won't show up. You just need to type 2 passwords, make sure they match, and then boom, we're done. And the next step, what we want to do is to take a look at whether the user right now has sudo, basically admin privilege, because a lot of things, if you need to install packages to the operating system, you might need to have admin privilege. So for example here right now, so it's not allowed to run sudo on this computer. So what we need to do is actually to add the current user to the group called wheel, and so in that way you will be able to later run sudo command. So again, just hit enter. Again, all the command lines are in the video description below, so you can just copy and paste without having to download anything. Okay, so once we have this, the next step actually is to edit the file, because earlier we already installed gedit. So now you can open the txt file on Windows to edit the file. And so just scroll down to find this one here. I think it's this one here, wheel. So basically you need to uncomment. So simply remove the command line, and then the next one is to find and uncomment the line sudo. So also this one, right? And also you need to add this one, right? So add another line. So basically just copy and then put in here. Oh, you need to add yeah, just this. So my name and then the user, just like this one. So you can maybe just put it here. Let me copy paste. Just like this one. Like, let me remove this empty space, right? So basically this one allows you to execute any command. So you have admin privilege, so that you can run sudo command. After that, just click save or Control S on your computer, and then we should be done. So take a look and close. And so if you want to see more instruction, you can go to the link. Basically I learned all those from this website. And the next step, what we want to do is to set up the default user, login user, because let me close this one and then open this one again. So now it's open, right? You can click the drop down menu. You should be able to see the arch here under the drop down list, and by default every time when you open it, it's going to log in as the root user. And earlier we already create another new user, so we want to use that user to log in. So what you can do is to set up the default login user. So again, just copy this one here, and this command line just to set up the default user. So I'm going to copy and then come back to here where you have this arch.exe, and then just right click, open in terminal, right? And from here, just paste, you enter. So for Windows, you need to have a dot and then slash because it doesn't recognize. So let me add this one here so that you can follow it. Okay, and then just at the end, hit enter. Now take a look. It has been, so now that when you open Arch Linux, it's going to log in my name here. So let me close this one and here open this one again. Take a look. So now you have the new username. So this is right now when you log in, you want to use a new username. So when you need to run sudo command, then you can just put sudo at the beginning. Okay, so now since we have set up the user, and the next step is to actually install packages. So I would highly recommend that you install another package manager called YAY, and this one is very powerful. This one will allow you to install any package, just like software repository. You can sync up on your iPhone, for example. You install App Store, and then after that you can install any packages. So this is basically just the tool you use to install packages. So in order to do that, we need to git clone. So again, git is already git is not installed here. So maybe we need, okay, so we need to execute this one. So we're going to install git and another package, software package, so that we can later install other stuff. So just copy, come back to here, paste, and then just type your password, hit enter, and yes, and then just hit enter, and then also make sure that you okay, remove, type yes, and then yes, and here you go. And so after that, we should have git on your WSL, Arch Linux. Then we should be able to install additional packages. So I'm going to show you shortly. And so you can clone. If you want, you can, for example, once it's installed, you can also go to the GitHub to download this one directly from the GitHub repository. So okay, we're done. And then, for example, you can type LS. Right now, it doesn't have anything. So what's the next step? So actually, you can see from the Arch Linux here, user and under my name. Right now, it has nothing. Okay, so we are right now under the user directory. So the next step is to git clone. So Control S, paste, hit enter. So take a look. It's going to download that one to this one here. You should be able to, yeah, okay. So here, right? So everything is downloaded to this one. And then we just need to cd into the directory ls. You should be able to see the content inside. So the next step actually is to make pkg, basically just to build so that we can install. Just follow the instructions. You should be pretty easy. And then just type y, hit enter. So keep in mind, this is right now on WSL. If I install it directly on basically a full operating system on a computer on a hard drive, you don't need to go through these many steps. But because it's WSL, so it's like some additional step that you need to create a user. But if you install a full operating system, you can set up using graphical user interface without even to go through so many steps. And so once it's done, then we will be able to install, for example, Mini Conda, VS Code, whatever software that you need that's available within the AUR software repository. Okay, just again hit enter, done. So now we have the YAY. So yeah, this one extensively used to install packages, even not in the software repository. Think about the iOS, right? Your iPhone, your App Store. This one is just like allows you to install packages from the official App Store. It can also allow you to install packages from outside the App Store. So basically, you have a huge repository that you can install pretty much anything. And the next one here I'm going to show you is to actually install Mini Conda. So because if you're doing programming, Mini Conda or Anaconda is a must. So just hit enter. And again, it's going to install Mini Conda to your current directory, and just hit enter. You don't need to do anything. So this is what I mentioned earlier, right? So in the past, or on Windows, you will need to go online to download Mini Conda and then double click on your computer actually to install. But now you can use those dash s. You can pretty much install anything. And so let me go back to here to show you what it means, right? So you can type, for example, AUR Arch Linux, and then go to the software repository. So this is where you can search all the packages. So as I mentioned earlier, we type Mini Conda, right? You just click enter, and here this is the package that we install. So the YAY install package is actually from here, but you can source any others. For example, you can Office. There's so many available, and if you want, you can install. But this is for command line, so we don't really need a lot of a graphical user interface. So, and again, it's done. And so here you can simply copy this one, Control C, and then paste. So I'm just going to use this one. Execute this one allows you to later. You don't have to basically recognize the Conda command. So. And then just type enter and yes. And so now if you type Conda, you might need to, let me here, close it, and then reopen. Then it's recognize the Conda command. Take a look. So Conda now works, right? You can then use Conda to install any packages. So I'm going to show you here. We can create a new Conda environment. Just Conda create. So the environment is going to be named Geo, right? And then it's going to install everything. So if you refresh here, home, you should see mini Conda here. Let me close. Sometimes it's not refresh. Let me close everything, and then open this one again. Home, my name. Interesting. Close. Anyway, so let's create this one. So or you can, for example, you can type which. So we can Conda activate Geo. So now we activate the environment. You can actually type, for example, which Python. You can see, find out, for example, where is Python installed on your computer. So it's actually under your username .conda envs. So if you come back to my user here, home, my name .conda. So this is where all the Conda environment are installed. So Geo, right? So this is the one that we just created. And the next step is actually to install, for example, Mamba. I'm going to just type here Conda install Mamba, and then we can use Mamba to install pretty much all the Conda packages that you can use for geospatial analysis. And so if you want, you can go back to everything lib. Okay, just type enter, install, and so from there you can find, for example, Python 3.9, and scroll down here, type packages. So this is where all the Python packages will be installed here. All right, so once it is installed, now we can type just Mamba, right? So we can Mamba install, for example, Geospatial. Okay, Geospatial, and then this C Conda first, and then hit enter. So it's going to install the Geospatial Python packages, and that one pretty much has all the common Python packages for geospatial analysis. So basically just a one-stop shop, and then you don't need to like Conda install a lot of other packages. But this might be a lot because it install all of them all at once, and also deal with the dependencies. Again, let me come back to show you how big is the file right now. So WSL Arch, right? So you see it's almost 4 GB. And so for the geospatial Python package, it's going to install 544 because there are a lot of dependencies, and 703 megabyte. It's not too much, but once you install this, you are ready to go. So you don't need to constantly install all kind of packages, and you might have dependencies conflict. It's going to save you a lot of time, and you can also install pretty much any other package later on if you want. But this could be a good start. And again, you can use the command line. You can also just edit things from here. So anything under your home directory, and here, if you go into your name, you can create new files. You can delete files directly within here if you want. So you can also delete from the shell command from the terminal. So for example, here I can just simply shift delete. Like I don't need this one anymore. So but usually you don't want to delete files that you don't know, but this one, because it's just a GitHub repository that we clone, so we can just simply delete it. And so like just like I said, you can delete things directly under your username, but you cannot delete other files because you don't have the admin. Looks like they're still being used. We can just skip. That's all. Right. So this is how you can also access the file. So let me open Linux here again. You can open multiple instances, right? So here, this one right now is installing. It's not finished yet. You can open multiple, basically multiple terminal. And so from here, you can just type ls, right? So you can see what kind of files in there. You can also access, for example, the file on Windows. Here, this terminal right now is on Linux, right? So you can see, for example, cd, and then so it's under mnt. Here, C, and take a look. So now you will be able to access the file under your Windows system. So the Windows system here, if you go to, for example, C drive, right? So these are all the files right now you see in here. So this is how we access the file on Windows. And you can cd, for example, I can cd to users. Right, and you will see my name, and I can cd my username. Okay, else, right? So you can basically you can access file within your Linux. And you see it's installed now, and after that you can just type Python, right? So I can import leaf map. You can just test it, right? You can import Gmap, for example. You can import raster.io. I'm not sure if it works or not. Yeah, this one looks like it has some issues, so leave digital undefined symbol. Yeah, this one looks like this. Let me see here. Import Geopandas. Yeah, Geopandas works. So raster.io, I might need to look into that. Looks like the digital is not installed properly here. Anyway, so this is how you can set up Arch Linux on WSL, and you can also create a new user, install all kind of packages, and after that you don't have to deal with just like on Ubuntu, you need to add like software repository, you need to manage those PPA. It's very inconvenient. So now Arch Linux just doing command. You can install a lot of packages all at once. You don't need to like do one by one. You can actually just create a shell command and then just execute all the operations together without having to do it manually. But you get some idea. So here, this is how you can set up operating with Arch Linux on Windows WSL. And again, so after you finish everything, you can open again and click the drop down list and click this one. So you can always have access. So you can just sudo pacman, right? Oh, and then just type your user. You'll be able to update. This is how you update the packages. Right? Every time if anything that needs to be updated, you just run this command. Everything will be updated all at once, and you can choose when and how you want to be updated. Okay, so that's all for this video. I hope you find it useful. I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.